been like rebuilt 5 million times.
Okay,
Your place
you're all
is
being
up.
recorded.
Okay.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for being here. Yeah, sorry, I've got a handful
That's
of,
okay.
and we're going to take care of our business meeting and then we'll have a break and transition to the training. Yeah, thank you. Here.
Do you want the income right here?
No, a clock right there.
It kind of depends.
No rush, just
Because,
whatever you can do.
My main guy working on this is in school, so he's
Whatever you
working
guys can
about
do.
15, 20 hours a week.
I know.
So it's not too bad because it's really tapering off. You know, it's really busy in the spring and summer.
Okay, I need somebody cool to tell me, is it okay to wear a phone case now?
No,
Used to
It's
be,
never been done.
no,
then it wasn't.
do not do it.
Then you might as well put that pocket pin in too. That's all I'm saying.
Taken it.
That's all I'm saying.
Sorry.
But you're cool though.
You make it, you
Maybe
make
get like
it.
a
You can get a rubber band and put this around your ear too when you're talking.
See the important things we talk about in
I know.
I know, I heard that. A fanny pack.
Those are back fanny packs, so
So why can't
But
those?
do you wear them on the side, or the back, or the front?
diagonal.
So it's not really a fanny pack anymore.
You guys good to go ahead and get started?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's right, we're being
This is,
recorded.
We already decided phone cases are not.
That's true, we've already taken care of the important business. So. Thanks for the flexibility tonight. As you all know, just from the emails, we are going to have kind of a short business meeting here tonight, and then hopefully around maybe 6:25, cut off and transition to Janet, who's here in the audience, and we will shift to the training. So there will be some additional people joining us for the training, some additional city staff. I know at least the mayor, maybe a few board members, a couple more planning commissioners will join us too. And the idea there is just that economic development, of course, includes not only you guys, but really the whole community. And so wanting to make sure everybody's kind of hearing the same training and starting on the same page. So this is a little bit different of a meeting. We're recording this section, so this will be posted to YouTube, and the presentation will be posted to YouTube just like always. I didn't set up the mics. I don't think we really need them for our normal meetings. They're almost more awkward because of all the
Feedback.
kind of feedback that you get from them. So if any of you can't hear or we have any issues, then we can kind of fix that in the future. But for now, I think this will be working just fine. So I'm even going to kind of adjust the agenda a little bit, if that's okay with you, so that we can make sure to hit up kind of the most important things before we transition to the training. And maybe first of all, if we can welcome our new member, have him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about maybe who you are and why you're excited to be here. And then if you don't mind going around, not only for his sake, but for Janet, who's already here, to get an idea of maybe who you are and then what your kind of business or operations are that you're here representing.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I'm Bruce Kramer, and I own a company named Kramer Capital Management. We're a financial advisory firm. We're in Briarcliff. Been in business 32 years, but Kramer's been around for 12. And we have some property here in Smithville, right by the lake, about 6 acres that we're going to build and do all that stuff. We currently live in Gladstone. I've been there for, I think, about 20 years right now. And we're lifelong residents of Kansas City. I'm on several boards. I'm on the Northland Community Foundation. I've chaired some organizations, and I'm very interested in the economics and everything going on right now. So I think I bring some good leadership to the table. So glad to be here.
Thank you.
Me
Go ahead.
next?
Yeah.
I'm Rusty Beck, and I've lived in the Smithville School District, just really outside the city limits, for around 10 years now. And I have 2 kids that went through the Smithville schools. They're both in college right now. And I own a business in town, really 2. One's a bicycle shop, and the other is a motorcycle apparel store that primarily sells online, but the bicycle stuff is mostly here. We do service and bicycle sales and that sort of thing. And I've been involved with EDC for more than 5 years, let's say, and with the former mayor, and now with Mayor Boley. So I think that's about it for me.
I'm Alicia Neff. I own Not Too Shabby down here in town. I grew up in Nashua, so not far down the road, and have lived in Smithville for 12 or 13 years. Both of our kids one is in Maple Elementary now, one will be there next year. And, that's it. I'm excited. I like helping the community and talking to people.
All right, it's my turn. I'm John Chevalier. I'm on the Smithville Board of Aldermen. I live here in town. Kids go to school. That's about it with me.
I'm Dan Gilligal. I own Chops Barbecues and Catering. We've lived in Smithville now for about a year and a half. We opened Chops about 3 years ago, so been part of the community quite a bit.
My name is Brian Hope. I own Cosex Lake Town Grill with my wife Jackie. We moved to Smithville in 2008, so just over 10 years now in the Smithville area. I got 2 sons. One goes to Smithville Middle School, and the other one goes to Our Savior Christian Academy. Been on the EDC for 3 years now, going on 3 years. So that's it for me.
Scott Pearson, I'm the Senior VP at Cal James Forge Insurance. That title and $1.60 gets me a cup of coffee every time, or at that Quick Trip. Don't have a business here, don't live here, but my daughter was born here. I brought my son or my grandson up to preschool here. I just love the community, and I've got a lot of clients up here. And been president of the chamber for a number of years. I'm still on the board, so it's my adopted town. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Scott. Good to see you, Scott. Todd Schutz, Smithville School District. It's my 7th year as superintendent. 4 years as assistant superintendent prior to that. Moved up from Lebanon, but I'm originally from Excelsior. So made it back to the Northland after 20 years in Southwest Missouri. And I hear a lot of job security around the table. Kids in school. So I've had 3 go through our schools, and I have now a sophomore as well. My only boy, and he doesn't like it when I call him my baby boy. Not much of a baby anymore.
I'm Kelly Kabilski, been a Smithville resident going on 18 years. Been on the EDC almost a year, I think. I own Children First Montessori down here on the square. Have one in college, a son, and a junior in high school. Is that it?
Thank you for doing that. I learned something too with everybody saying that. So quickly, just kind of for Bruce, you're new, and for everybody else, kind of a reminder that the way that we'll really structure these meetings is kind of about a dashboard of some kind of main numbers that I'll pull up here in a minute, and I'll post this online afterwards. And really, that's kind of a work in progress and really identifying what are those key indicators in the community that we look at when we think, how are we doing on economic development? So I'll kind of use the staff report maybe to hit up on a few items that aren't necessarily covered by that key indicator report. So a couple of things that I wanted to share with you, maybe what's going on. I've been continuing to be active in the MEDC, is the Missouri Economic Development Council. We're part of District 3, and that's a really good group. They have kind of quarterly meetings, annual meetings. The last meeting that we were at focused all on medical marijuana. That was in Independence, and that is just so interesting. That's something that I think this committee, this community will really need to follow, will definitely have an impact on economic development if we land one of the, if we get one of these businesses. If you're not aware of the process, you can look it up and you can find a whole calendar of events, but basically applications were due originally the Friday before, but they extended the deadline to August 19th, and the state received over 2,100 applications for what they originally said would be 348 spots. And so that includes everything from dispensary, grow facilities, testing facilities. And that 348 spots, as I understand it, is a minimum, so the state could decide to go more than that, but they can't go any less than that. That's, I think, something that everybody is questioning right now is of those 2,100 applicants, how many are going to actually get kind of a slice of the pie? They have through December 31st to review all of those applications and make a decision on that. We know of a few, there were a few of those companies, at least 4 applications that we know were located in the city of Smithville. At least they asked us for very specific information that they needed to submit their application. So we know that there's at least interest in the city, and it's just kind of a matter of the waiting game for all these organizations right now. That would all be a sales tax dollar, foot traffic into town. I mean, you can imagine the impact that something like that would have, not only on the economic development, but also public safety, education. Of course, there's going to be pros and cons that really the community will be working with through this. It's something that as a staff we continue to watch. I mean, the mayor and the board planning commission has already taken some actions on. Really the thing that we've done as a city that we were required to do by the state was to state what kind of zoning and what areas these places where they'd be, basically where they'd be allowed to build within the city. So we kind of continue to monitor, do what we can do, be responsive. Just so you all know, and so the public knows, it's a constitutional amendment, and it is, most of it is guided by really the Constitution now and what the state does and doesn't allow. So there's very little that cities at this point really can touch or adjust, but it will definitely be something that impacts and, you know, affects the state. That will be something that we'll be, I think, grappling with forever, probably. So we'll continue to share with this group the more we know. It's probably really for the next couple of meetings. We won't probably have many solid updates, but we will definitely update the group because it's something, like I said, will be very impactful. And that's a lot of what the buzz is on economic development right now in the state of Missouri, is where these are going, what effect they'll have. It'll be really, really interesting to observe. Really on other economic development activity, I'll update you guys when we get on the dashboard, but it continues to be good news in Smithville with commercial developments. That's been pretty exciting. A couple of other staff reports. You all received an invitation to the Think Tank Reconvene. That is a meeting on September 18th from 6 to 9 at the high school. And if you weren't at the June 8th meeting, whether or not you were at that meeting, you're invited to come to this. And the meeting in June was really great. The Smithville High School was a great kind of location for that. And it was, our consultants are very positive, very high energy, very global thinkers. And so the point of this think tank reconvene is really to continue to digest what they heard at that original meeting and then what they've been hearing on the surveys. And kind of what's most important to you all is this is where we're starting to put some of the meat to the plan. So we kind of talked about big picture concepts in June. Do we want to be a global city? Do we want to be a small town oasis? What kind of we want to be? And now we're talking about what that's going to mean for our strategic plan. So starting to think about, you know, what do we need to adjust in our comprehensive plan? What economic development strategies do we need? So really starting to get into some of those details, which I'm excited about. So if you all can, if you're available to register for that, that's really, I'd say, one of the most important meetings in the strategic planning process. And it's at night for those of you who aren't available during the day. For those of you who can't make that night and have free time during the day, on September 20th, that's that Friday, there will be focus group meetings, and one of those focus groups will be business and economic development. The tentative time, and I'll send you all a follow-up, we were just finalizing this today, will be 11 to 12:30 will be the business and economic development focus group at the library. And the point of that is to get even further down into the details with kind of the subject matter experts. So at the reconvene, it'll still be a pretty big group, probably still pretty conceptual. And then on that Friday, while our consultants are here in town, is time to really start to get into even some more of those details. So again, perfect scenario, I mean, I'll be at all those meetings, perfect scenario, I think if you could get both of those, then you'd really you would be intimately involved in every part of this strategic plan. After that, it goes to the board for approval in October, and then a little preview into the calendar later, and then I think it comes to us to kind of develop what's our EDC strategic plan to contribute to those ultimate goals. So really exciting meetings. It's been it's a really fun process, and we start to get into the details. So if you can be available for as much of that as possible, that would be great. I know September is crazy. We were just talking about this fall is just feels very busy. So I understand the time commitment for you all. And then finally, the 2020 proposed budget. The board received the proposed budget in August. So this is kind of a report to you all of what was included in that budget for economic development. We still have $10,000 in the budget for economic development, and that's really comes from what was previously that community special event pot of money. And that was put in by the EDC a couple of years ago as a way to encourage tourism marketing. You guys got emails and you approved some of those dollars going to things like the 4-H festival. Really, we've been evaluating that program and thinking about what's the best use of our dollars for economic development, and included in the proposed budget that we actually redirect that money not to be used for special events, but to be used for a couple of other really key priorities for the city. And those will include Main Street. So the Main Street application that you all heard about, we got accepted into that program. We don't really know yet what that process is going to look like and what kind of dollars we'll need, but we will need something. Visit Kansas City partnership. We've talked a lot about the best way to market. What website should we be on? Should we have our own website? Visit Kansas City has a partnership program. If any of you go to their website, it's the main website for people visiting Kansas City. And if you engage in a partnership with them for $1,500, which is nothing in the marketing world, they actually have a whole page just for you. They have a kind of nearby cities page, and Smithville can be added to that, and they'll promote our events, which from research, that's really the best kind of reach for the Kansas City area that we can get. So that's just an awesome opportunity. A couple of memberships, including potentially things like ICSC or different groups that look at kind of that, how we recruit industrial and retail at the national scale. A lot of those things are membership driven, and if that's where our strategic plan is going, then we just have to start to join more of these kinds of memberships. And then kind of lastly, setting aside some money for some kind of web hosting, tourism, partnership. I mean, that's come up over and over again, not only in this room, really in every room I'm in. What kind of tourism information should the city have? Who should host it? Who should pay? And I just think if we at least put in some dollars in here to make some moves in that direction, then we can continue working on kind of what's the best solution there. So really between those items and then a little bit extra for TBD based on what comes out of the strategic plan, that $10,000 will go a long way as far as what a lot of what we've been talking about. It's been proposed to the board. They're taking action on it in basically October is when the budget would be finalized. So if there's any questions or changes between now and then, this would be the time to kind of flesh that out. We have some flexibility in there that we don't have to be super specific now because a few of those pieces are moving targets a little bit. But I think that really will be, looking at where we should be spending our money. I think that's going to be the best use and really go a long ways. The community groups have been prepped for this a little bit because we ran out of the money this year. We started to spend some of the special event funds on a couple of other things. So we've gotten a few requests in after we ran out of the funds and started to let people know, like Kiwanis submitted an application, Oktoberfest. Christian Family Days got money, but not Nehemiah Fest. And we've been telling all those groups as we go that the funds have been used for a couple of other items this year. And so they know it's coming. A couple of them have already kind of heard about it this year. So just so you know, in case you get questions kind of out and about in the community, I want to make sure people know that money will still be used for economic development, tourism, and events throughout the community. It'll just kind of shift its focus. So any questions about that? That was a lot of information thrown at you, and I can definitely share more of that as we start to actually, as we get those partnerships and some of those arrangements locked down. But I think that's, just so you all know, economic development is for sure still in the budget and looking at the best ways to spend that. Any kind of questions on that? You're like, slow down, I'm sorry, but there's a lot to get out there in a short amount of time. Reports, do you all mind being postponed or maybe sharing your kind of reports via email? The chamber report, I have a handout in front of you. Unless you have a burning desire, Dr. Schutz or Rusty, to chair, then
Oh,
I can send that out afterwards.
I can wait, yeah.
You can wait.
Enrollment's up, right?
What's that?
Chamber memberships, enrollment's up, chamber membership
That was
is up.
on my list to mention, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want a few minutes to talk about it, or are you okay?
I could go
Hunting?
either, anything I can do to best serve the committee.
I'll
I
have
can
you, I'll
wait.
have you fill in if time allows. How's that?
Okay,
You're my
that'll
filler. Actually, we could add that to our dashboard. Sure. Is enrollment.
Talking about this dashboard.
That's the start line.
So this is only really the second meeting that we've had actual kind of numbers filled in on this. But that would be, I think, a great addition to this if you think about doing that.
Sure.
So these are those indicators that, like I said, when we think about how are we doing with economic development in Smithville, these are some of the primary areas that we look at. These numbers that you're looking at are as of the end of July. Residential permits are down compared to this point last year. If you remember, last year was literally a record-breaking year. Last year on residential permits, we were on our way to having a record-breaking year. So we are down, but that's to be expected, and that kind of is probably a little bit more of what we would expect to see at this point in time. The commercial permits is what's really exciting. Like we talked about the last time, we hadn't had a new construction commercial permit since Dollar General. So we have had businesses expand. I mean, they've pulled different permits for other things, but brand new permit. These are the first ones we've seen in several years. These are for the RV storage and then the Taco Bell. So as you know, there will be more coming in for the marketplace, kind of once they finalize who their tenants are going to be. But this is great news, and this is an indicator that is one that's huge. It's also, that's where we make a good amount of money coming in on permits, so our permit revenue is actually, we haven't gone down because the commercial permits make up for what we've lost on the residential side. Sales tax and use tax. Sales tax, we're up about 3%, which is great because all over the metro area, that number is all over the place. Some cities are down, some cities are up. 3% is a great number. The use tax, that's the number that, for the most part, it captures a few things, but for the most part, it's kind of the internet sales. 28%, and if you look, we have our sales tax numbers on our website now. It sounds like a lot. Of course, in Smithville, that's a little under $10,000, so it's not like, that's $1 million number, but that's a number that continues to go up. Last time it was up 40% over the last quarter. And so that's just really an indicator of a sign of the times and what we expect. So those are good numbers. Definitely any positive in sales tax is a good thing. And then we also look at just a couple of other numbers.
Related to that, have, almost every state in the U.S. has come up with their rules for internet sales taxes when people are shipping from out of state to that state, but Missouri is one of the few, if not the only one that hasn't.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard anything about that at all?
Have you heard anyone? I mean, my general answer is no.
No, they didn't pass anything, sure.
Because Kansas just did, and Kansas is really unusual.
Yeah, our legislature has been out of session since May, so they're done. They're done until January. And this is the final year for one's term limited, so Smithville's going to have a freshman state rep starting in 20, so we'll see if we get traction with it. That's something the state has to decide. But Smithville already has a use tax in place, so for companies like Amazon, which Dr. Schutz has heard me say many, many times, if you buy from Amazon, it's not a third party of Amazon. If you buy stuff on Amazon, they don't collect sales tax. When they do collect sales tax, we get that. And that's what that number is.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. Some cities haven't passed their own local legislation to collect use tax, so they're just not, and they're playing catch up right now.
Independence just had it on the ballot for August. So that this entire time, they have not been collecting. And it has to be passed by the citizens, so even if the state does pass it and get things in order with the Wayfair decision, doesn't mean the city's gonna be able to collect it. We're fortunate enough that we do have a use tax in place.
Okay.
So I know that's the very quick, but as long as you think these indicators are on the right track, these are the ones we'll continue to use, continue to add to this. Sometimes you want information that's just not available.
Nikki, can you go back one?
Oh, yeah.
Just so I mention one thing. The special events number,
Yeah,
that's nearly double our biggest year, I believe.
through July.
Correct that. A lot of those events have already committed for next year as well.
Nice.
Eric Craig, Clay County Fair, they've all committed for next year as well.
Awesome.
And then just real quick before we transition to the training, future meetings, so those are the strategic planning meetings. I'm proposing that our next meeting of this group be in October. One reason for that is that, so currently we have positions up in October, so you'll be up this October, and then other members are up next October, so you always want to have that October meeting so you can make that transition. The other thing is that'll be the week after the strategic plan is finalized and presented, so we'll be able to start updating. These are the strategic planning goals that we've had in the EDC for a couple of years. And really in October, we'll be able to start kind of modifying ours if needed to address those. I would recommend that rather than navigating the November and December holiday schedule, we wait until January and then really kick off the year and maybe make that January meeting a really kind of a solid, longer working session so we can really start to get at some of those goals. So if that works for you, I'll send all those, kind of make it final, update the calendar, and send that all to you all. And then in the meanwhile, you'll probably keep getting invites for other things along the way. I think that'll really square up the year and make it a really good year. So with that, if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is stop the recording and this meeting kind of officially. And if you all can kind of, actually we're going to take a pause and we think we're going to put a new table up and kind of do a round table. So take a break and come on back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.